What does goy mean?
Cattle.
Nation, cattle,
Just cattle,
slaves?
Yeah, so they're okay with you so long as you
Because they say
realize.
it means nation.
It does not mean nation.
They'll ask Grok.
It
Like,
means-
it means nation.
No,
really?
it means cattle. And so
The goy.
they're yeah. Yeah, they're
Nation?
Talmudic teaching.
I've never heard anybody call a nation a goy. Have you?
No, that's completely made up, and that is not even something. I'm surprised that's a new updated thing they're trying to lie about, but they try to constantly bury history even from 5 weeks ago. It's kind of weird. All of their literature, it's not difficult to find out what goy means. It's cattle.
You're right about one thing. It is not difficult to find out what the Hebrew word goy means, but you're wrong about it meaning cattle. Here is how the Theological Word Book of the Old Testament defines it. Quote, the term goy is used especially to refer to specifically defined political, ethnic, or territorial groups of people without intending to ascribe a specific religious or moral connotation. So the word itself is not inherently derogatory. This becomes especially clear when you examine what you referred to as quote-unquote their literature, which I assume means Jewish literature, including the Hebrew Scriptures, or what is often called the Old Testament. The Hebrew Scriptures repeatedly use the term goy and the plural goyim to refer to a nation or nations. For example, Genesis 10 verse 5 speaks of distinct groups of goyim, that is, peoples or nations, according to where they lived. In this sense, the term goy is also frequently used of the people of Israel themselves. For example, in Genesis 12 verse 2, God promises Abraham that he will make him into a goy gadol, a great nation. God was not telling Abraham that he was going to turn him into a giant cow. He was promising that Abraham's descendants would become a great nation. Later, in Exodus 33 verse 13, Moses affirms that this promise had been fulfilled. While interceding for the people of Israel after the incident of the golden calf, he says to God, quote, this nation, goy, is your people. Now, once the people of Israel had become a distinct covenant nation, the terms goy and goyim were increasingly used to refer to the Gentile nations, that is, the non-Israelite peoples outside the covenant. These nations are often portrayed as practicing idolatry and wickedness. As a result, Scripture repeatedly warns Israel not to adopt their practices or imitate the way that they worship. However, we also need to keep in mind that, from the perspective of the Hebrew Scriptures, the Goyim are ultimately included in God's promise of blessing. As God said to Abraham, quote, I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. As the prophets declare, in the last days, the Goyim will come with Israel to Mount Zion to learn the Torah. So, as we can see, their literature does not support your claim at all. No credible Hebrew lexicon, biblical passage, or other reliable source defines goy as cattle or anything inherently derogatory. This is not some recently invented or updated meaning as you put it. On the contrary, you are the one attempting to rebrand or redefine a simple Hebrew word that has carried the same meaning in the Hebrew Scriptures for thousands of years. What you are doing here is asserting a definition that is totally unsupported while accusing everyone else of rewriting history. But let's be honest about what you're really doing here. We all know that your claim that goy means cattle isn't really about linguistics. You're trying to plant the idea in your audience's head that Jews collectively view non-Jews as inherently inferior. That is in fact what you go on to say.
It's a fundamentally racist...
Racist against Christians.
It is. And there's a real... they're raised to believe that their life matters more.
So again, this nonsense about the Hebrew word goy is just the setup for what you actually want to say. You want people to believe that Judaism is quote-unquote fundamentally racist, and that Jews are quote-unquote raised to believe that their life matters more. But as we've seen, your argument is based on a false premise. The Hebrew word goy does not mean cattle. So in order to reach your desired conclusion, you have to invent your own definition for the word and then build an entire narrative on top of that false definition. You're asking your audience to accept a sweeping caricature of millions of Jews based on a premise that is demonstrably false. You are just making stuff up. As you yourself said, it's really not difficult to find out what this word means.
It's not difficult to find out what goy means.
So either you are remarkably unintelligent and have never read the Bible, or you just don't care because you have an agenda and you are willing to lie to disparage Jews. In either case, you are clearly untrustworthy, and going forward, everyone is reasonable to assume that the truth is the opposite of whatever you say.